reason why the saying "get woke, go broke" exists. And it's because when a company usually goes woke, they end up going broke. And Volition is a perfect example of this. A few days ago, they ended up releasing their big November update for the Saints Row reboot that fixed over 200 bugs that ironically still left the game a bug-filled mess. And that's what today's video was gonna be about. But it was recently announced that Volition, as we know it, is shutting down and is getting moved over to Gearbox. And that is what we're going to be talking about in today's video. We are over here on videogamechronicles.com. Now, this article here kind of covers what Lars Ringforth had to say about Volition shutting down. And if you guys didn't know, Lars Ringforth is the CEO of Embracer Group, which is the parent company of Volition. With that out of the way, let's get right down to it. In a statement released alongside its second quarter earnings result, Embracer CEO Lars Ringforth explained that Volition will be switching operative groups from Playon, I know I probably pronounced that wrong, formerly Coach Media, to Gearbox Entertainment. The reception of Saints Row did not meet the full expectations and left the fan base partially polarized, he said. That's putting it lightly. Right from the get-go, as soon as the first reveal trailer was released for the Saints Row reboot, fans, they didn't like the route that it was going down. They said it didn't look like Saints Row, it didn't feel like Saints Row, it felt like a hipster bullshit game. And then we finally got it, released back in August, and we were all proven that that was the case. But let's not pretend that this was the only thing that pissed off fans, because it wasn't. What pissed off fans, I would say even more than the state the Saints Row reboot launched in, was Volition's criticism towards it. How some of their team members, like the Deadly Stuff, constantly attacked anyone who had anything at all to say about the game that was bad. The game development studio, Volition, has been working hard to improve the player experience. They've been working that hard that they went ahead and they released a big November update with over 200 bug fixes that still left the game a bug-filled mess. Like, people are still having problems with pretty major bugs in this game. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's them working hard. Fuck. It's a pretty sad excuse. Let me just say that. Well, the game disappointed critically, Ringforth said, financially, Saints Row has performed in line with management expectations in the quarter. This year, I gotta call kind of bullshit on it. I think this is a half-truth. I think that when this game was in development, they probably had high expectations for this game. They were banking on the Saints Row name selling the game like it did in the first week. But I say that after the first couple of weeks, what ended up happening was that they realized that these expectations they had before, these high expectations, weren't really set in reality because the game was complete shit and fans didn't like it. So they kind of lowered them. And those are the expectations that Ringforth is talking about in here. Like I said, this game, it's it needs 2 million copies to break even. It needs to sell 2 million copies to break even, sorry. They're expecting to hit that in April. I don't think that's the case. You know, I guess we'll have to wait until April to see if it breaks even or not. Going forward, Volition will transition to become a part of Gearbox, which has all the tools, including an experienced management team in the US to create future success at Volition. This is the first internal group transfer where we transfer a major studio between operative groups, but is not necessarily the last. Blah, blah, blah. According to Volition, this major update is just the start of our ongoing support for Saints Row in 2022 and beyond. Sorry about that, guys. I said this in another video I did. I do not think that the support for Saints Row is going to last too long. I think maybe in late 2023 at the very late. Don't mind my light back there. It's kind of flickering. I apologize for that. But I think that in 2023 is when all support's going to end for this game. And simple. It's because of this. The player count for this game, it's low as hell. This isn't a good game. This isn't a game that people enjoy. And I don't think Volition is that stupid to be throwing money into the burning pit that is the Saints Row reboot. You know what? I'm going to take that back, okay? I'm going to take that back. Because they were stupid enough to put the Saints Row name on this game and expecting fans to be happy with it. So I 100% think that they would be that stupid to keep on throwing money into a burning pit. But with all this being said, right? With all this being said, they thought that with this big November update that they were doing that had over 200 bug fixes, that people were going to be happy with it. And you know what? They weren't. And the failure behind this bug fixes is one of the reasons why this company has pretty much gone under. Let's be honest here, right? They're saying that they're moving over to Gearbox. The reality is that because of the way they handled the Saints Row reboot, they pretty much got canned. The company's shutting down, and Gearbox is going to be taken over. But we over here on Twitter here on the Saints Row thing where they announced that the Bright Future update has officially landed in Saints Row. With over 200 improvements, we went hard on this one. Update your game and check out the full change notes here. And like I said before, people are not happy about this, right? This is what some of them had to say. So basically, Saints Row is now a complete game. I've said this straight from the get-go. The way Saints Row launched, completely unacceptable. For a game of this size that is generally a small game to launch with over 200 bugs that weren't fixed immediately but had to wait months afterwards to get fixed is completely unacceptable. They released a half-finished game, and from what some people are saying here, it still seems that it is only half-finished. Unless this update deleted the Soy Boy story and gives us OG gangsters a better story and apologize for making fun of the fans of this game is a flop no matter what. Here's an L for you, and stop the Saints Row reboot. Look at this shit. And that's what a lot of you guys have been saying too, something I agree with, right? Like, no matter how much updates they do, no matter how many bugs they fix, they can make this game fucking perfect in the line of fixing bugs, fixing everything that's wrong with it, that Ray gameplay-wise, whatever. The story is still going to be the exact same. It's still going to be the exact same shit story that it is. The challenges don't work still. Still says 1 out of 2. Ridiculous. I'm done. Wasted so much time to get this at 100% just to not be able to get the platinum because of this challenge mess. So let me be honest here, right? Well, I always say let me be honest because I'm generally an honest guy. But when I used to be a trophy hunter, this is the thing that pissed me off the most. When you were trying to get a platinum, trophy, you just need one more trophy to do it, and the trophy is bugged out. Now, you know, you usually can tell when this is going to happen because it usually happens to games that didn't have a lot of effort put into them. Saints Row Reboot. The Saints Row Reboot is no different, but this is one of the things that should have been addressed in this update. In fact, it's one of the things that should have been addressed in the very first week this game launched, one of the very first patches. But oh no, you know, we all know what the team is like behind the Saints Row Reboot. Here we got someone else complaining about it. So what should I do now? Ring It Challenge is definitely not tracking after the update. Yes, I did the 7 bounces in under 30 seconds, even though for some reason it's now gone from 6 to 4. Sadly, it's still not fixed. The challenge progress not tracking properly. It's the last thing I needed for the platinum. Plus, some of the regions are no longer complete. And this is what I mean, right? Like people are still having these issues. Like, like this point here, we shouldn't be surprised at any of this. So been waiting for the challenge fix, another one. It seems to have messed up. Note how the challenge just says 2 out of 3, but then in details, all challenges are complete, but the numbers have messed up. So challenges in this game, you know, it's not a big part of it, but it kind of is. It's side content, something to keep you playing the game. And if I remember correctly, you need to complete some challenges in order to do some missions, I think. So I can 100% see why people are pissed off about it. I'd be pissed off about it. If I still cared about the Saints Row Reboot, I'd be pissed off. Pure and simple. I don't care about the Saints Row Reboot now. Maybe I'll play it again if fucking an expansion comes out just to see how it is. But other than that, you know, out of mind, out of sight. I want to do this video though because, you know, I started this YouTube channel by covering some Saints Row related stuff. So, you know, I thought you guys might like it. The game died a long time ago. It did. It really did die a long time ago. In fact, it died all the way back when it was in development. I've got no clue who greenlit this idea. Like, who thought that this was going to be a good idea for a Saints Row game? I don't know. They completely stunned. Like, fuck. Well, we already know the type of people they are. You know, the social justice warrior wokies type. But fuck. Still sad to see. My challenges still don't work. Quick Draw has still never worked. and I still can't get my remaining threat missions to spawn enemies. This game is truly a disaster, but you should have at least fixed this stuff by now. I wish so badly that I didn't buy this or could get a refund. Now, one of the things that I'm really interested in seeing if Volition, Embracer ever releases the numbers for the Saints Row reboot is how many people actually refunded this game. I've been saying this straight back when this game released, but back when they were saying that it topped the UK's #1 sales chart. I wanted to see how many copies were actually refunded. Because let's be honest, a lot of the copies probably didn't get refunded. There's probably a larger portion of copies where people weren't able to get refunded. A lot of these games, they were probably bought secondhand. They weren't bought new, which I'm 100% for because I don't want Volition getting any money from this game because this game is a bastardized version of what it should have been. This game was a dumpster fire straight from the start. Volition lied to us. They gave us something they didn't want. They weren't listening to fans. When the game came out, when people were complaining about it, you had people like the Deadly Stuff attacking those people. Deadly Stuff is the community manager for the Saints Row, in case you guys didn't know. You had all this stuff, you know, the team behind this game didn't want to admit that the game just wasn't any good, which is why I think that it got released in the state it did, right? Because they saw it as a perfect masterpiece that could do no wrong, and it's something that they kind of kept giving off that vibe right after this game came out. It's sad, man. Like I say this all the time. It seems like I'm saying this every day now because we always see this. We see wokeness. We see bastardized versions of things that we used to love. It's like nothing like when we used to be children or teenagers or whatever, right? It's we see more and more of a beloved video game series, TV shows, movies, whatever, just going down the drain. And it feels like there is nothing we can do about it. If you asked me, there is a way that this game might possibly be redeemed. And that's a big if. Like, it is a very slim chance that it will actually fix the problem. But I'm going to tell you what I think should happen. Number one, my management team at Volition behind this game, they need to get fired, all of them. They need to be fired. Same thing with the writers. The writers showed they don't know how to make a good game. They don't know how to write a good game. They do not understand what Saints Row is. And the sad thing is that the head writer for this game was actually working on Saints Row 2. Who actually worked on Saints Row 2. I believe he was some kind of designer, maybe a level designer or something like that. I can't exactly remember. But it was Jackie Scott, I believe his name was. Something like that. They all need to be fired. They can't handle the Saints Row reboot. They can't handle Saints Row in general. Fire them all. Say goodbye. Hope they get a job somewhere else that fits their skill level, I'll say, which isn't very high. Number two might be a bit controversial for some of you guys, but I think they need to stop working on the bugs, or more correctly, take their main focus off of the bugs. They should have a small team still working on them, working on the major ones, the big ones, the ones that are complaining most about, like the ones that involve the challenges, and kind of work their way down to the little tiny ones. And I think with the extra resources they have, they should put it towards making an expansion. And that brings me to number three. This expansion, it needs to be the complete opposite of what the Saints Row reboot was. They need to make an expansion amazing, not even good. They need to make it amazing, like the best thing fucking ever. They need to somehow put a spin on why the campaign sucked. I don't know. Maybe play it off as the characters from the main campaign were just a bunch of kids with twinkles in their eyes, you know? Like, they were so hopeful that they could do things a different way, but something happened, and it was kind of a come-to-Jesus moment for them that realized that they need to actually start acting like gangsters. Something like that. I'm just putting that out there. You know, that's not really thought about. That's just me thinking about that up on the spot. The story needs to be awesome. They need to completely change the personality of the characters. And you know what? Like, they just need to do a complete 180 and actually make the story a gangland story like people wanted. And if they did this, if they made an expansion that completely blew everybody out of the water, that was just amazing, that was as good as the Blood and Rain expansion for The Witcher 3, there is still only a very slim chance that this would redeem the game. But if I'm being honest here, if I'm being completely 100% brutally honest, the people at Volition right now, they don't have the skill to do it. They don't have the skill, they don't have the ambition, and frankly, they don't have the brains. The fact that Volition is shutting down, or more technically, I guess you can say that Gearbox is taking them over, which I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if they're going to be in Volition, but they're going to be another child company under Gearbox, or if they're going to kind of be absorbed by Gearbox and become their own thing. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to become Gearbox, they're going to stay Volition, whatever. But the fact that they are shutting down, that this is happening, should tell you just how badly they messed up with the Saints Row reboot. And the only people at this point who are still arguing that this game is good, that the Saints Row reboot is good, are the idiots. Because let's be honest here, it's not good. If it was good, the Saints Row reboot wouldn't have tanked the Embracers Group stock once it was released, and this wouldn't have been happening. But I always say this, it is perfectly okay to like a bad game. But just because you like a game doesn't mean that it's good. More people need to understand this. More people need to get that through their heads. Because as someone who likes a couple of bad games, I'm not going to pretend that they're masterpieces. One of my favorite ones, one of the ones I do like, is Cyberpunk 2077, just because of the story. And you know what? I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's a masterpiece, because it's not. And it's retarded to think so. The more stuff I hear about the Saints Row reboot, the more I want to see the actual sales numbers for it. I don't think Embracer will release it. I think Embracer does release them. I think it will be the copies shipped to retailers, and not the actual copies sold by those retailers. But when it comes to Saints Row reboot here, I don't know what to say. I don't want to say that I pretend that it doesn't exist, because it obviously does exist. I still read up stuff about it. But to me, I look at it as trash, right? At this point, I don't look at it as a Saints Row game. I just look at it as a shitty clone imitation of it. But in case you guys didn't know, I'm GamerGeek. And if you watch this long, if you could hit that subscribe button, it would really help a fella out. I hope all of you have an amazing and wonderful day. Peace out.